I'm in my house. Go figure. I'm in my house. I don't leave this house often.
Yeah.
Where are you? You're in Vancouver.
I'm in my apartment, Vancouver.
Was this a temp apartment or is it something you've had for a long time?
Both. I mean, when we are we starting? You want to start?
I mean, it's always starting. I mean,
okay, all right, yeah. I'm in my apartment where I got it. So I have this pretty awesome apartment in Vancouver that's been my home away from home. But it started out as a temp apartment. The owner landlord, who's a friend of mine, my friend Marshall, his prior tenant was leaving, and he was like, "Well, I was going to move back, but he has a place up in Pemberton or Whistler." He was like, "Well, I thought this was season. We were pregnant with Shep, so this would have been 2013." And I was like, "Listen, man, we're in season 6 or 7, whatever it was. I might need it for another year, maybe 2 years." He's like, "That's fine. That's good." So fast forward, 8 years later, 7 years later, and he's the best guy on the planet. He's the nicest guy. And he's sort of like, "All right, well, you need to re-up. And so it became kind of a more permanent living situation. But it's still, I mean, I'm in my let's do this. I'm in my master bedroom in my apartment, but I'm legitimately in a sauna blanket. I
was just watching that. I was like, what is he? Is that an ice pack? You've got a sauna blanket.
Yeah, by the way, I have no affiliation with them, no like plugs, but there's an infrared sauna blanket from Higher Dose that I heard Ben Greenfield read his books. I heard him on a Rogan podcast. He's like a biohacker, and I'm a big fan of his. But he talked about this infrared sauna blanket. And so Jen and I are lucky enough to have an infrared sauna at our home in Austin. And so I travel with this. So I roll it up in a suitcase. And then, if we're doing a convention or something in Chicago, we're filming in Vancouver, I'll bring this and I'll get to wherever I am, check into the hotel, and I'll plug this in and preheat it up.
To what? Does this tell you the temperature?
All right. Well, you're about to see my bedroom. So I have my.
Well, it won't be your bedroom for long.
Yeah, I think another 2 weeks. So you just plug it in.
Plug it in.
It just goes into the wall and plugs into the blanket.
Are you naked under that?
I'm not. So you can't be naked because it gets hot, right? So I'm wearing socks. I have a towel, but I put my feet in socks and sweatpants and a little Under Armour.
And how is it just filled with sweat at the end?
It's pretty gnarly. Yeah, it's pretty, but you open it up and you dry it off with a wet wipe or whatever. I mean, wet wipes are hard to find these days because of COVID. So I just kind of wash it down, but I'm closed. So you don't want your skin touching and usually you go full cocoon. Like I'm a full caterpillar,
right,
about to, come into my own as a butterfly. But for now,
I love that you're blanket saunaing. Well, we're talking. I love. Why wouldn't you? Is it? By the way, does the lethargy kick in? Are you tired after, or does it invigorate you? Do you need a shower after?
I think it depends. I mean, I do shower after, but these days, I mean, by the way, remember that when Ackles and I flew up here on August 2nd, we had to quarantine in our apartments for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So no going into the hallway. And it's really funny because we flew in and the customs agents we saw, they were like, "Listen," because he brought his dog up. I brought my dog up. And they were like, "Well, listen, when you walk your dogs, just be very careful. The dogs can't socialize. Dogs can be carriers."
Oh, shit.
And Ackles and I had read through the regulations, restrictions, a dozen times. And we were like, "Wait, when we walk our dogs?" And they're like, "Yeah, just be careful. We don't really have COVID-19 here in Canada yet, and we're trying to keep it from coming in." We're like, we get it. And so we told our production coordinator, Fisher, we were like, "Hey, man, the customs agents seem to think that we can walk our dogs. Will you look into it?" He was like, "Yeah, I'll look into it." And they were like, "Listen, you can, but you can't. By the rule of the law, you cannot leave. I couldn't go to my hallway. I couldn't go. My garbage is down the elevator, and so I wasn't allowed to do that. Luckily, I had a dog walker who came twice a day for my dog, and she would drop it off, and she'd be like, "Yeah, that's fine." And so I'd have all this garbage, and she would come by and go like, "Yeah, cool, I'll drop it off on the way." long story short, it was sort of one of those situations where we thought, well, some people think we can go outside, some don't. I don't want to risk it. And the fine, I think, the fine wasn't enormous. It wasn't like $1 million fine if you were caught outside. It was, I don't want to pay the fine, but the bigger problem was we got here on August 2nd, which was a Sunday. We had to quarantine for 2 weeks till August 16th, Sunday night, and then film on Tuesday. So if August 5th or whatever that Tuesday or Wednesday was, I decided to take my garbage out and an agent happened to be there, they would have restarted quarantine, which would have, messed up Supernatural schedule and pushed everything another 4 days, 5 days. God forbid, you take your dog out to pee at midnight and there happens to be an agent there going like, hey, you're supposed to be quarantining. Like,
so you didn't do it.
I didn't leave. No, I didn't leave.
You didn't leave. I can't. Oh my gosh. Look at the little paw. Oh my God. That is the cutest little shepherd. That's a full shepherd, huh?
He is. Yeah. So my dog, I had a shepherd mix that I got from the SPCA in Los Angeles when I was doing Gilmore Girls. In between scenes, being a guest star on Gilmore Girls, like number 8 on the call sheet, they were like, okay, here you are. We need you at work at 4 a.m. And then you'll finish that scene around like 10 a.m. And then we need you back at 8 p.m. I was like, all right. And so I went to the SPCA on Sherman Way. I lived on Fulton at the time, right up the block from Casa Vega. And so I just went straight up Fulton, took Sherman Way over to the SPCA and got Sadie. And this was June 6th, 2003. And she was a rescue.
Wow.
She looked like a shepherd, like really classic coloring, the brown, the black nose. She's a much darker,
look at
I think called Brindle or something. Anyways, so I got Sadie. And then last January, she was supposed to be, or she would have made it to 16 in March. And then in January, it was just that time. I mean, she was she was an awesome dog, but she also, I got her season 2 of Gilmore Girls and had her for 3 more seasons of Gilmore Girls. Then I had her for 14 seasons of Supernatural. She went to New York with me when I shot with Riley, New York Minute. She went to Virginia with me.
So your best friend, pretty much.
She was my girl, man. Like I was single when I got her and she was around for everything.
How hard is it? Listen, because I was as close as you can come to losing my dog last week on Saturday. 12 years rescue, best friend Irv. And I lost my grandfather Irv in November, named my dog Irv. And he's like, what are you naming the dog Irv for? I'm still alive at the time. Anyway, so Irv, my dog, all of a sudden had this infection, almost died, 106-degree temperature, somehow turned it around. The best doctors, and like I still got him, and he's in the other room, and he's like on a lot of pills, and he's not in any pain. I'm not one of those owners who would let him suffer just because I want him alive. If he was suffering, I'm sorry, as hard as it would be, I would put him to sleep. But he's doing better. But how hard when Sadie passed? How hard was that for you? I know Sadie was 16 and old, but like what?
Yeah, it was the worst, man. But you know what? With are you saying Earth or Irv?
Irv, IRV, like Irving.
No way. Yeah. So Irv, you'll know. Irv will let you know. That was my thing with Sadie is she had lost her hips, her back hips a little bit. And I had this harness that we had bought and you would kind of like hold her back hips and then the leash was attached to her, like a harness on her chest. And so she couldn't pee, she couldn't poop, she couldn't get out at night. But when I woke up and got to the living room here at the apartment, she'd look at me like, what are we doing? And so she wasn't in pain. And that was for a good, I don't know, man, like 4 or 5 months where I was like, well, am I being an asshole? Because I'm so deeply
in love with this thing,
attached to this dog. Like, am I being a jerk? Like I need to let her go to the next world with dignity and, her own integrity. And then one day it just kind of like, one day I walked to the living room. I'm getting emotional. I'm already emotional now with the season ending.
Me too, man. I'm thinking about it right now.
Yeah. But one day I kind of got up and she was my couch here in the living room. I had to get Fernie pads, like furniture pads.
I got him too. That's what I have for Irv. Yeah. He's having problems walking.
And I put him on the couch. And so at night I would lift her up, put her on the couch because she couldn't hold her
weight.
Facilities. No, she couldn't.
Facilities. Yeah, that's it.
So I was like, well, all right. Like, and she was really embarrassed by it. Like, she was still mentally there. And then one day, every day I would get up and she'd kind of like wrench her neck around. She couldn't move her hips. but she wrenched her neck around to look at me like, where are we going, Dad? Where are we going? And then one day she kind of looked at me like, hey, buddy, I'm ready. Yeah, there we go. And so that lasted for like 3 or 4 days. At first I was like, well, maybe she didn't sleep or something. And then probably like 3 or 4 days, same thing. And I was like, okay, like I'm going to let her go chase cars in the sky or squirrels in the sky or something. That was hard. It was real hard.
Did you take her in? Were you in there? Because some people will tell me you don't want to be in there, and then some people say you want to be with her for the last. You were there.
You want to be there. Yeah, you do. You just want to tell Irv like, hey, dude, you've been the best, man. Like my life is better. So many people's lives are better because you're part of it. And so I did. I had that moment with Sadie, and my friend Kelly was there. Who Kelly's our on-set wardrobe, and she's become a dear friend. And you know how it is when you're shooting. They're like, "Hey, here's your trailer," and set is a 20-minute drive away, and we're daylight dependent. And so Kelly, way back in season 1, she'd be like, "Hey, do you want me to take Sadie up for a pee break when you're on set?" I was like, "I would love that." And so then Sadie became like our dog. And so when I was on set, Kelly would take her. When I flew home to Austin to see Genevieve and the kids, she'd go to Kelly's house. Like Sadie girl, man, I mean, I know I was her dad or whatever, but as soon as Kelly walked in the room, Sadie was like, Kelly's here. So anyways, Kelly and I were there and we let her kind of go off. It was really tough, man. I'm sorry about you and Irv. I know nothing's happened yet, but when it happens, it was really tough at the time. I don't remember if it was a month or 2 or whatever, but there was a day when I woke up and I was done with crying and kind of moping. And I was like, you know what, man, my life is so much better. So many people's lives are so much better because Sadie was in it. So, and now it's just been smiles. But
man, I tell you, I could just hearing that story, you could just tell how much you love that dog. It's so obvious. Like, you know, some people say, oh yeah, it was good. Like I could just tell it's so visual. It's so, and by the way, I mean, I didn't even expect.
She's still with me. She's still with me.
Yeah, always. And I didn't expect
every time I talk to Coda, my new dog, and you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Supernatural. You're on the last episode at this point right now.
We started it Friday, so today's Sunday. We started it 2 days ago.
Yeah, because you posted. You said a post. It was like a really nice post, right?
Yeah.
You said something, as I head out to the first day on my last season finale, I can't help but be incredibly grateful for all that Supernatural and the SPN family.
Yeah.
How much they mean to me. It's been an incredible journey to say the least. I, for one, am hoping that Supernatural never dies. What did you mean by that?
By which part? That was a long sentence.
I mean, the part where you hope Supernatural never dies. You hope just, hang on. Is it I just want it to go on forever in terms of the fans will always remember it in 30 years from now when I walk into it, you know, I'm a Supernatural, and it will just always be in people's minds and new generations. Is it that, or is it B, I'd like to come back and do a Supernatural movie, or maybe we'll do another season someday, who knows? Or is it a combination of both?
Yes, and yes. Yeah, it was a difficult, I knew I wanted to kind of send something, and not even for me, like I'm not a big poster guy, posting on social media kind of guy.
Right.
Like I just lose track. It's not that I think there's a lot of value in social media. Like I'd be lying if I didn't say I flip through Instagram and Twitter or whatever during takes. I just don't think about it. It's not something I don't know. I'm trying to psychoanalyze myself.
No, I want to connect more. That's what I'm trying to do. I want to connect more and more.
Here's what I'll offer, and here's what I'm trying to deal with right now. You know, saying goodbye to a friend of 15 years, the show. You know, my character Sam, like I know so well. I've never gone. I'm going off on a tangent a little bit. I've never gone 5 months without playing Sam Winchester. Not since I was 22 years old, and I'm 38 now with a wife and 3 kids, and gray hairs they have to scratch out with a comb. Very humbling. But I would say this, man, like I think as actors, and you know this more than anybody, when they say, okay, rolling, action, you have to be in the moment. You have to. You can't think about like, oh, did I lock my door? I should have called my friend. Oh my God, my agent, I was supposed to call him 5 minutes ago. Oh, my taxes are due. You have to live right there in the moment. And I think it sounds like, and having known you for a while, you're that kind of person anyways. So that's your nature, but also your nurture right here. I mean, Michael Rosenbaum on Sunday at 11:19 Pacific time, you have 1,000 things you could be doing. If you were just laying in your bathtub, you have 1,000, 1,000 might be hyperbole or something, but
one thing.
Let's say you have a dozen things that you could be doing.
Right.
Like, I got to send this text. I had 3 buddies text me when I was asleep. I got to respond to them all. But now you're here with me, and you're with me, and we're 1,000 miles away or whatever on a computer, but you're able to be present. And I think that's magical. There's a downside to that. There's a second edge to that sword, right? Where I'm really bad, and you know this, and you've teased me, and I think we've teased each other. Like, I don't answer phone calls. I don't respond to emails. I don't respond to texts. I get them, and then I go back to set, or I get them, and then pick my kid back up and jump in the pool.
Right.
And then I'll get to it later. So I feel like one of these things is we're sort of blessed and cursed by this idea that we are good at living in the moment. And I guess I'm grateful for it. I guess I've had to become grateful for it because I don't have another choice. It is my nature. It is my nurture. And so I don't know where I was really going with this, other than to say,
about being connected, about being why you're on Instagram.
Yeah, thank you. Right. Yes. So you were talking about your phone and being on your phone, and I would say that you're still connected to your phone. I would argue on your behalf that when you are on your phone, even if you're among a million people, there's a Michael Bublé song I used to listen to season 1.
Sing it, Jared.
I was embracing Kayla. I ain't gonna sing it. I don't want people to tune out. But may be surrounded by a million people, I still feel all alone. I want to go home. And not that I'm feeling alone, but the idea that you're a singer.
No.
The idea that you can be in the most crowded room and still be in your head. The idea that you can have a million things to do and still choose to get on your phone. It's part escapism, I assume. I don't know. I'm still learning. But I think there's some magic also to, I'm going to commit. I'm on my phone. I'm not going to send just smiley face emoji.
I'm going to write something.
Yeah. Hey, my buddy texted me. I'm going to process that. I'm going to take it in. I'm going to think of what I need to say. And I'm going to move forward. So I think
I hear you.
For 15 years. Yeah.
I hear you saying. I personally, it gives me an anxiety attack thinking about being in my apartment for 2 weeks without going back to that, without being able to take the garbage out, without going to order food, or going to get food, or walking my dog. So what day do you start to go, it hit me, I'm fucked, I'm getting anxiety, I'm going down a spiral, I can't? Or were you fine?
You know what, man? Having never done it before we flew up here, I was panicked because I do have clinical anxiety, and I have for a large part of my adult life. And I was like, I'm gonna be a mess, which is also why I was happy to have my buddy.
Oh, yeah. Seriously.
So it's amazing. But day 4 or 5, I was like, I could do this forever. I mean it. If I didn't miss my friends and my family, I mean it, man. And I didn't know. I was terrified. I was mortified. We had called friends that were here, and they were like, hey, will you put some canned chili? Like I was going to war. It was like, can you put some MREs in my...
Get Jared some canned chili.
I was so panicked. And then also I was with my kids, 8, 6, and 3, and my wife, and they were concerned. They were like, you can be all right? Are you sure you don't want us to go? I was like, I'm good. Man, I'm good. Baby, I love you. We'll FaceTime. It's great.
How often do you talk to your family? Do you talk to them 3 times a day or just once, or what?
I guess it depends on the day. I mean, I just lived with them for 5 months, from March 13th to August 2nd.
So be honest, they're not going to listen to this. You were ready to get the F out. You needed a little break. Daddy needed to go to work and have...
No, and by the way, that's not a secret. March 12th, we filmed our pseudo last day of season 15, because March 13th is when when Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, was going to make his speech. And they were like, oh, they're going to shut down the border, get home. And so Friday the 13th, a plug for my movie, Friday the 13th from 12.
Yeah.
We ended up getting sent home on Friday the 13th of March. And, I got home, and I had just done, we had a convention in Vegas the weekend before. I had run the Austin Marathon the weekend before that, or maybe 2 weeks. Either way, it had been like busy. Give me a job. I mean, I love candy. I think everybody I know knows that. I love candy and I eat candy. And I remember like candy to me is going to theme parks. And here my dad goes like, here's $2. And so I'd go to the arcade and get a bunch of tokens on foosball or skee ball or whatever. And because I knew I could get candy. So for me, like candy is a reward.
Right.
And my new buddy Keegan Allen, who's playing my brother in Walker, is he's very right. And I tease him all the time. He's very like, dude, don't do sugar. Like sugar will mess you up. And I'm like, fine, I'm going to go have a Snickers or whatever it is. I don't like chocolate, but I'll have some Sour Patch Kids. But for me, sugar and nachos or whatever is a treat because we couldn't really afford it growing up. Like, hey, here's all the barbecue and Tex-Mex in the world. But, you know, we'd get good grades. We'd win a basketball game. I was like, hey, I'm going to make you some cookies. Here's some ice cream.
By the way, I love this conversation. It really,
I love all the conversations.
Well, I was just.
You call. Atlas came to work and he's like, yeah, I just talked to Rosenbaum. And I was like, well, he didn't fucking call me.
No, I was calling both of you.
I know. You don't answer my phone.
Yeah. You don't answer your phone.
Come on, man.
It's true. But I will say this. I'm just saying this. You're incredibly enjoyable. Like while you were talking the other minute, you have like my energy in a way because you're like excited. You want to talk about stuff. And it just, I like it. It's easy. I can just like talk to you forever. So back to.
If we were in person, I'd kiss you with tongue right now.
I know. Well, a COVID kiss. It'd be a six. It'd be just like a Buffalo Bill kiss.
Not anymore.
Are you on medications for it?
I'm not. Not about. My point is that I do believe in the power of
love,
self-fulfilling prophecies. So if I say to myself, like, I'm suffering from depression, I'm suffering from anxiety, I'm suffering from this, then I'm the victim and I can't do anything about it. If I say to myself, hey, if I say to myself this, man, for those 2 weeks in quarantine, I suffered from anxiety. I had a Garmin on my arm and it tracks your steps. I'd have 20,000 steps someday in a 3-bedroom apartment. And I don't say suffer. I fucking hate that word. And here's my favorite saying. Pain is mandatory. Suffering is optional. So you will deal with pain. Pain is universal. There's not a human being on the planet, whether they're born a billionaire or born, in a terrible, terrible situation. Pain's going to happen. You've dealt with pain. You will deal with pain. I've dealt with pain. I will deal with pain. It's my choice whether or not to accept it and try and deal with it or to allow it to make me suffer. So suffering is my option. So I don't suffer from anxiety. I've dealt with anxiety. I have a relationship with anxiety. But these days, I see it as a school bully. And I deal with it.
I love that. I love it, Jared. I think it's so important because I remember my psychologist said,
"Yeah,
hey, anxiety could be here. Anxiety's in the back seat right now. I've said this before. Anxiety's in the back seat, but you're driving, so you could know it's there. And you go, hey, what's up? No, fuck you. I'm driving right now. I know you're there, but you don't get to drive this car.
I feel like there's a podcast I listen to or something where somebody's talking about death in the same way and how they were terrified and mortified of death and their mortality and the fact that, oh my God, I'm not gonna be able to wake up one day or go for a walk. And they were like, and now they've become a welcome friend. Like they're in the passenger seat and they'll say things and they're that friend that you disagree with, but you love them. And you're like, hey, death is telling you like, hey, this is all gonna end. This could be the last time you take a right at a stop sign. Hey, this could be the last time you have a Diet Coke. Maybe a piece of rib gets caught in your throat. And you either believe that person, and I've met a lot of people who have had some pretty severe who have dealt with, not suffered, who have dealt with pretty severe anxiety and depression and suicidal thoughts. And I guess,
hold on a second.
Hey, in a big, big way, there's some bit, and I've used in my own life. This isn't me like proselytizing, like, well, if you take this pill or practice this mantra, but I have found that accepting that it's part of my life makes it welcome. Like if I wake up and I don't feel anxiety these days, I'm like, what's wrong? Like, what am I not aware of? Honestly, God,
that's smart, man.
It's taken a lot of money, a lot of professional help, many, many years. But these days, and not that I don't falter, not that I don't sometimes just get in my room and cry or something, but by and large, I remind myself. So I watched Genevieve go through natural childbirth twice. She set up to it 3 times. We had some issues with our 8-year-old. His cord was around his neck twice, and it was kinked, and we ended up going to a hospital then. But then I watched her 2 times give natural childbirth, no Advil. And she didn't say those exact words, but I got that she was like, when there would be contractions, she would sit there and breathe through it. She's a fucking boss, man. But she would breathe through it. And ultimately, after the fact, she was sort of like, I knew it was going to hurt. I knew it was going to go away. And it's not Rumi, it's Reiki maybe. There's a great quote about something, deal with the highs, deal with the lows. I'm bastardizing, but no feeling is final. So accepting there will be pain. Like that's part of life. Life can suck for all of us. And life can be amazing for all of us if we choose to focus on that. But dealing with no feeling is final. This is painful. You don't have to suffer.
You're going to miss it. I can tell you're already missing
it. I've cried every day for a week.
You genuinely cry.
Yeah. I read the script every day. And even just moments on set, we're filming our last episode. So every now and again, we're at a location. It's like, oh, I've been here for 15 years. I remember this place. I remember where I played with my dog and this and that. And then it's like, okay, this is the last time we'll be at this location. And I think to myself, there's a possibility I'm trying to be aware of that I'll never make this drive again. We just shot kind of up Sea to Sky Highway last week. And on the drive down, it was our last day at that location. And I was like, oh my God, I might never make this drive again. I hope I do. But I'm just preparing myself to go I might never see this. And I would go to Whistler on weekends and go skiing or go hiking or whatever the season was. I'm really excited. It's very bittersweet. And Ackles and I talk every day about it. And it's long days. We have to finish what we have to finish. We don't have any pickup shots. It's not like, hey, we'll come back in a month because we'll have to quarantine for 2 more weeks. And it doesn't make sense financially.
Did they schedule the very last final moment between you and Jensen together so you're in the last shot before you both wrap at the same time? Is that what's going to happen?
I'll say this. I'm trying to figure out
I'm saying as 2 actors, because they shoot out of order, are you guys going to be together on the final take of the final day?
The last time Sam and Dean see each other is the last time Jared and Jensen see each other, if that makes any sense. I'm not saying what the last scene is going to be, but the last moment I have on camera with Jensen and vice versa will be the last filming moment I have on camera with Jensen.
And how emotional. I could just see 2 of you good-looking fucks just balling together. Oh my God, sweating. You got the sauna. You guys got the sauna blanket over both of you. You're just crying your fucking eyes out.
It's up in here. It's already been emotional, man. What's funny is that he and I both, and you know this, you worked with him and you know me for a long time, and he and I both are so committed to these characters. He plays Dean Winchester, I play Sam Winchester. I love Sam Winchester. He's been my close friend for 15 years, and I want to do him justice. So I'm focusing really hard. I'm trying to focus really hard to make sure that if Sam cries, it's Sam tears, not Jared's. At my heart, it wasn't necessarily that I wanted to be famous or I wanted to be in a J-Bot magazine or whatever. I want to tell stories, and I want to tell Sam's story. And I did a Christmas movie of season 1 with Jason Cicchini.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Tom Stanley, good guy.
Yeah, of course. He's my dear friend, and I hope he comes down to Austin with
Hilarious.
me after the show. But he did the movie with me, and there was a scene I had with Peter O'Toole, who's one of my long-time idols. And I so badly wanted to impress the director, that I ended up getting to a place where I kept crying after they called cut. And Peter was like, Michael, to the director, he's like, can Jared and I have a moment? And Michael's like, absolutely. So he told everybody to take 10 minutes and go get the crafty or something. And Peter O'Toole comes with me and says, hey, that was wonderful. That was phenomenal. Those are Tom's tears. I played a character named Thomas Kincaid, Tom. And so he's like, those are Tom's tears. Don't steal them. Save them for Tom. And from a guy who went to RADA, 8-time Oscar nominee, Lawrence of Arabia, my favorite year. I was like, I'll be damned. What a great thing. And he was 80 at the time. I was 23 or 24. And he is Peter O'Toole.
I love it.
And I was like, what a cool thing to say. Remember, I'm glad you got there. That was wonderful. Those aren't your tears. When they call action, if Tom cries, give them to him.
Wow.
But those aren't theirs. And
just like a little thing that just went so, Texas Ranger. Texas Walker.
Yeah, Walker.
I always say Texas Ranger.
I know you do.
Texas Walker. Are you excited about the show?
I'm thrilled.
When do you start?
Before the pandemic, we were going to finish Supernatural on April 5th and then start Walker April 20th. And then obviously, global pandemic, that's unlike anything we've ever seen for several generations. And so right now, I think we're set to finish Supernatural on September 10th. And then we were supposed to start Walker on September 23rd, but that got pushed because we need more time to build, I think. So it's going to be hopefully sometime in October we start in Austin.
How many episodes?
I don't know. I don't know. I think we got a 13 episode pickup. Don't quote me on this. I probably should know this. I think we got a 13 pickup, but then I think because of everything going on, it'll just depend, as you well know, and maybe some of your listening, viewing audience doesn't know, episodic TV shows usually shoot from July to April. So if we can't start till October, as of now, late October, then if we did the same amount of episodes, we would shoot like into July or August, which means if we got picked up for a season 2, then there'd be overlap. So I don't know. I think that's going to be at the mercy of a lot of different networks like ABC, Fox, CBS, NBC, CW. Like, I feel like they're all going to have to go like, hey guys, let's all agree on like a 10 episode season for 2020, like a COVID season. Let's do a short season and get back to normal moving forward. But again, God knows, man.
You love to work. You're just like Jensen. You guys just have to work. You want to work. You love acting. You love it. And I love that. It's great.
Yeah.
All right, this is real quick. This is called Shit Talking with Rosenbaum. It's quick. This is rapid fire. Tom's asks, will there be a Supernatural movie coming out in the future, and would you do one?
I hope so, and absolutely.
Steph A., are you hoping to channel your inner Chuck Norris for Walker, or are you going to make the whole role your own interpretation?
My Walker has zero to do with Chuck's Walker. I did watch Chuck Norris. I mean, I grew up in Texas, and Walker Texas Ranger was obviously a massive show, and I watched it. But this is a brand new character, brand new story, and brand new era. So brand aspect.
Is he related to that guy at all?
None. No, just a similar name.
His name's Walker.
He's
a Texas Ranger, but he has nothing to do with Walker Texas Ranger from yesteryear.
Cordell's the new Walker Texas Ranger. But nothing to do with that.
All right, good. Handsome fellow. What would it be?
Thanks, man. I'm a big guy. I've heard Nighthawk would be a good fit for me, which would be fun. Yeah, I think I've seen some mock-ups of Nighthawk.
Did you test screen? Didn't you test screen for Lex Luthor or for Superman? Clark.
Yeah, not the Smallville. I screen tested for the movie in 2004 when it was McGee. Yeah, I was doing House of Wax, and they flew me from Australia to LA to screen test. I put the suit on and everything. They took my phone away so I could take pictures.
Do you know, by the way, that Jensen gets the car?
We both get a car.
You get the car too?
We both get a car, yeah.
It was in your contract as well.
It wasn't in either of our contracts. It was a gift from them. But the funny thing is also, I'm actually the car guy. Like my first car ever was a 69 Camaro. I still have it. I also had a 66 Mustang. He had like Broncos and stuff. But I'm the car guy. Like when I see a 67 Impala, I'm like, okay, what's the block? Like, was it Borden Strode?
Got some rotary girders on here. You got Edelbrock intakes.
Everybody needs rotary girders. Yeah, but I grew up like Cliffy and I, who works in the show. He and I have talked cars for years. My favorite car ever is a 67 Corvette. My dad's favorite car, but I have like car books and parts books from when I was fucking 7 years old.
You could build an engine. You could rebuild an engine.
I cannot. I can tinker with the carbureted engine. You know, I know spark plugs.
I could change my oil. I could change a tire. I could change my oil.
I can change oil. I can change oil on a classic car. I mean, these days, you need a lift system. You need a fine-tooth comb to get in there. But you give me an old late 60s muscle car, and I can fiddle. You know, I can change. I used to keep a fan belt and some spark plugs in my 69 Camaro that I drove to high school. I still have the car. Like I am the classic car guy. Like that's
so you're both getting a car. So the question is,
oh, no, that wasn't contractual. That was something phenomenal that Warner Brothers did for us.
Right. Okay.
It was a phenomenal. Like, hey, they probably could have sold the cars for $1 million a piece. I mean, I'm throwing out a number, but those cars are very valuable. And Peter Roth said basically, "Thank you guys so much for doing such a wonderful job for so long. We'd like you guys to have this." And Dean Winchester's the car guy, but Jared Padalecki's the car guy.
By the way, that show made so much money for that network.
I hope so. It was a great show.
Yeah, great show. You deserve it. Absolutely. Look, dude, this is awesome. I honestly, I want to. I wish I could talk to you every week, but it's like how many, But this is awesome. I wish you the best. It's so exciting. I mean, how many years?
15. However, 15, but 15 is part 1 and 2. So I turned 37 and 38 on season 15 because it got split up.
Wow.
So season 15, it's like a show that you can't get rid of us.
Well, you told me, you and Jensen both were like, well, come up and play with us, man. Come up. We'll get you on. And I never did. And I'm like, if you guys do a freaking movie of it, they got to find something for me.
Well, listen, man, Gilmore Girls I did 5 seasons. They did 7. And then 10 years later, they did a Netflix reboot. So movie or reboot, give me a call. I'm in, man.
It's going to happen.
I love the show. I love the fandom, the family. So,
dude, I love you, man. This has been fantastic.
Love you back, man.
All right.
Yeah, good to hear from you. Good to see your face.
You too, buddy.